Hello, my name is Mordred Viking, and I'd like to welcome you to this episode of Mordred Viking's Community Clash, where we are joined here by a bunch of different people. We have got Charles over in the Inca. We have got Blue Kiwi in Ajam. I was thinking Ajam's over here. It's not. It's right there. We have got Commander Faceless in France. We've got that guy in Oirat. We have got Kaiser Wilhelm in Ulm, which is unfortunately the same colour as Austria, but it's over here. We have got Gustav Kuriga in Finland, which is Helsing's vassal. We have got Holy Victor in the Papal States. We have got Legit Player down in the Congo. We have got Jumper. Why do people always have different names from what they actually call themselves? Mania! Oh, it's actually the same name. We've got Marisi in Portugal. We have got Master Giles over in Japan. We've got Mindboy in Delhi. Then Phaonix over in Friesland. Sir Striker in Poland. Slurfen in Brandenburg. The Empty Road as the Mamelukes. The Martian in the Ottomans. Torshin in Morocco. Kamchandals. That is definitely a different name. I have to open up my list. Logan in the Kamchandals. Val in England. Venetian Merchant in Milan. Bacon Killer in Castile. Klemf in the Bahmanis. Fewer in Austria. Greater Austria. Then Jamie up in Sweden. The players that are not here today are Alone Without AE in Tunis, Bjornvar in Ethiopia, and Moonwolf of Malacca. So those three nations are currently protected. Otherwise, this is everyone. So we've got a good listing of players, and I've definitely been promised a couple of shenanigans for today. So things are probably going to kick off. I don't actually know between who. I just had multiple people saying things are afoot. And yes, hello everyone. Hello, hello, hello. I hope you are doing well on this fine Sunday afternoon, or morning, or evening, or Monday morning, depending on where you are. Or possibly even Saturday evening. Wait, is that possible? Hawaii is like 11 hours behind, so yes, just. No, it's not. I don't think it's possible any longer to be a day behind. So, let's take a look at the rankings currently. The scores on the doors as of last week are: in first place we have got Bahmanis with 19 victory points. Then we have got the Papal States by Holy Victor in the second. Then the Mamluks of the Empty Road in third with 14 points. The Ottomans from Marshall in fourth with 13 points. And then Val from England in the fifth place with 6 points. So the top four players relatively close, with only 5 points separating them. And then there is a 7-point gap between fourth and fifth. Then after fifth place, the numbers slowly trail down, all the way down to -3, which is Castile. I did dock 1 point from the Ottomans. No, not the Ottomans. Austria last week for calling in an absent player, a protected player, but he owned up to it, so it was just a 1-point penalty. That is where things stand at the moment. In terms of how people are doing, let's take a quick look at income. First place we have the Ottomans, second place we have the Bahmanis, and then in third place we have the Papal State. In terms of military comparison, military ratings, Ottomans are in first, Oirat are in second, then Bahmanis are in third. Naval fleet size, and these are all of the different scores for scoring points, basically. Top three in all of these categories get either 4 points, 2 points, or 1 point, depending on where they position. In first place, we have the Ottomans. In second place, we have the Papal States. And then in third place, we have England. Then there is highest developed province, which is shown here. The highest developed province at the moment is Rome, owned by the Papal States. Then the City of Gold, owned by the Inca. And then Ulm, owned by Ulm, in third place. Although the Mamelukes, Milan, are both also quite close. In fact, Inca have another city which is up in the rankings quite high. Inca's really doing a lot of development there. Then the top 3 great powers at the moment, Bahmanis in first place, then the Ottomans, and then Oirat. And I feel like I'm missing a category. Income, Dev Province, Great Power, Military Rating, Largest Fleet. And then we have the victory points. The victory point being Gotland, which is currently owned by nobody. We have Helra, which is owned by Friesland, getting them a point. There is Rhodes, who is owned by the Ottomans, getting them a point. Then there is Batumandri over here, which was formerly Betamisaraka, which is not owned by anybody. So, or Tsushima over here, which is owned by Japan. And then we have got Tortuga, owned by England. Now, it should be noted that we came up with a rule: if a player is not present, then their scores count for half. So, for example, the Ottomans last week were a protected nation, so the amount of points the Ottomans got were halved because of their absence. And if they own a province, then that province will not score, because it's impossible to attack them to take the province off of them. So that seemed to be a pretty fair way of doing it. But at least this way, if you are a protected nation, you can still get some points just because of your rankings, depending on how the AI did. So the fact that the AI kept the Ottomans in second and built such a massive navy is going to be a really big boon for them. Like, I'm always a big fan of having a big navy. This is a fairly decent one. 3 heavies, 40 galleys. Papal states could certainly contend with them. I don't think even England could. Like, 12... Yeah, England probably could. I usually say that there's about a 4-to-1 ratio, galleys versus heavies, so it would be a close fight. England probably would just about edge it, but it would certainly be one hell of a battle. And then the total ships do fall off pretty quickly after that point. So immediately at war we have got France, who are currently fighting against Lübeck and Hamburg. That's probably on behalf of somebody else, seeing as Lübeck is currently under occupation. We've got legit player down in the Congos, fighting against Kikonya, Buha and Kazambe, so just expanding their territories in the centre of Africa. Slurfen, Brandenburg's just gone to war with Brunswick and Mainz. Brunswick being this, Mainz being... I know it's up here somewhere. Here. So actually good expansion opportunities in Brunswick. Mainz is just going to be kind of collateral damage. Saxony is not a vassal or anything, is it? No. Then we have got Val fighting against Lübeck and Hamburg. So this is probably English attempts to expand their trade. This does not seem to be a Frisian war. One thing... Oh no. No, never mind. Then we've got Klemf in Bahmanis fighting against Orissa. So just trying to get some more expansion. Ratanpur is not a vassal, however Andhra is. Same colour. That's irritating. So probably trying to expand Andra's provinces here. Or possibly Bengal. Bengal, I think, also being a vassal. Yes, they are. So some of the nations in the world are a little bit bigger than you would expect. How many players in today's match? There are 26 players currently. Is there a Brandenburg? There is. Brandenburg is a player. So if I switch over to the player map mode, everything in a colour is a player. Everything not coloured is an AI. Or not colonised. Anything ridiculous happen like the HRE dying in the first year? No, this time we've actually had an exceptionally strong HRE. So if I switch over to the political map mode and switch over to the imperial map mode, we can see that the borders of the HRE have actually expanded. He's taken over the entirety of northern Italy. England and Sweden have both joined as well. In fact, if we go to the HRE overview, we can see that a couple of new players are now electors. Most notably, I would say for myself, the Papal State. And as was being mentioned in chat before we started, the Pope is the only elected elector. Because the Pope has the conclaves, which elects a new Pope, so the only elected elector is actually the Pope himself. Then we have Trier, who is not a player, Saxony, which is not a player, Palatinate, which is not a player, Cologne, which is not a player, Brandenburg, which is, and then Bohemia, which is actually an Austrian vassal. Or a personal union, I think. Alongside Moldavia. The other thing which is going to be worth keeping a very close eye on is Galicia. Galicia split out from Poland last week, and Muscovy immediately swept in with an alliance. So Galicia is currently allied with Poland's nemesis, Muscovy. And Lithuania does seem to be having a couple of issues. And again, AI just really passive, not going after the rebels at all. So Poland is basically forced to come in. Let's take a look at the strength of their military. So Poland's on 3,000 manpower. Muscovy's on 33,000. So Muscovy is doing a far better job of recovery than Poland was. Although Lithuania is sitting here on 42,000 manpower. So Lithuania could certainly do a bit of damage. Austria also coming in to assist against Hungarian rebels. The Austrian army being very, very large. That's quite impressive. And then the Pope is going after Venice and smashing the Venetian army. This is probably the last holdout of papal influence. Let's just take a quick look at the Pope, because I'm very curious to see where his merchants are and where they are collecting trade. Papal states are not collecting in Venice, even though they would be due a third-ish of the money here. So this is one of the few instances where collecting in Venice might actually be a good idea, although they would lose some of their trade power in Genoa. How many merchants do they have total? They only have 2 merchants, so you wouldn't actually lose that much trade power, because effectively what happens is you get a trade power boost depending on your merchant. So the one who is collecting gives you nothing, and then you get the 10% transfer from Alexandria bonus. You would lose that, and then you'd suffer a 33% penalty, I think it's 33%, in Venice. But in this instance, it might well actually be worth doing, because you have very few merchants, so you don't lose much. If you're a 12 merchant behemoth, then you definitely lose a lot by doing that. But if you're a smaller trade power or a more concentrated trade power, then it wouldn't be too bad. I actually like how random these community games of yours are. You put players in a space together, strange things are going to happen. Then that guy is currently fighting against Nogai and Khorasan, so expanding forever westward. Currently, really, this is directly blocking Muscovy. Muscovy is almost certainly going to have things to say about the fact that Oirat's hordes are now pouring in to Nogai. Definitely no love lost between these two players at the moment. They were swapping insults in chat before we went live, claiming each other's horde territories for their own greater glory. And it looks like Oirat is the one getting in here first, because Muscovy has a... doesn't have a truce with them, but there's not a war with them. Who else is at war? Papal States is at war with Venice, as we saw earlier, and it is just Venice. That should be a fairly easy acquisition for them. Jaunpur is at war. Who is Jaunpur fighting against? They are fighting against Koch, which is in here. So expanding a little bit further to the east. Master Charles in Japan is probably at war with Japanese miners. Yeah, Tokugawa and Usagi, just trying to claim a couple more of the other daimyos for the greater glory of Japan. Brandenburg is currently probably still fighting Brunswick. Yeah. So those fights will probably take a little while. Ottomans are at war. First war of the day against Karabakh and Karakanulu. So QQ did get gobbled up a little bit by Ajam last week. Now the Ottomans coming in to finish the job. And then the other one was Karabakh, which I don't actually know where they are. That's Ardalan. Who are these people? Ah, there's a little guy right here. Okay, so they probably won't last for very much longer. Sweden is at war, most likely with Denmark, Norway, and Munster, trying to expand their territories over here. One of the things that I paused at briefly earlier on is I was testing out my CPU just to see how fast the new machine could do speed 5 at. It's pretty fast. I think it was doing a year in 14 seconds. But one of the weird things that happened by 1700 is Friesland had taken over the whole of Jutland. So I was like, oh, one thing I didn't notice last time was for... Oh no, that was my test game. Never mind. That wasn't in this. Viewer is paused. Why is viewer paused? Oh, we have a new player. We have Alone Without AE. This would be Tunis entering the game. So let me just go and mark Tunis as in fact here. So protected now is only Ethiopia and Malacca. We are up to 27 players in total.
Okay, the hot drink system's dumb.
How so?
The fact that you get the pop-up, and then you have a button that says confirm, but before you can click that button, you actually have to click one of two blank buttons beside it to actually accept or decline it. And that's just like, why don't you just click confirm and then say accept the player's join, yes or no?
Yeah.
Why would you give me two buttons there? Because I had to do it 3 times now because I was like, I'm hitting confirm. Like, why does it keep saying rejected? What the fuck?
That is kind of weird.
It's a weird system, and it just feels counterintuitive.
It's probably the workaround to hotjoins not working at all previously.
That might be, but yes, there's now a green button / red button, and maybe they've always been there, and I've just not paid attention. But
possibly.
I don't remember them being there. But anyway, thought I'd come great publicly.
Yep, cool. Thank you.
See it.
Yep.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bet they love that.
Actually, one thing I should do is change my window setup so I can actually see who pops into my commentary box. Okay, cool. So without a should be loading in right now. Hey, Faceless.
Are you wondering why I changed religion again?
I had not noticed.
I changed to Reform because I can actually get rid of the Protestant Center of Reformation with the +10 to against heretics, whereas the Reformed one I can't get rid of.
Oh, okay. That's got to be quite expensive, though, surely.
I'm making a lot of money anyway, so I'm in the bank right now. So see ya.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so France apparently have switched to Reformed after having previously switched to Protestant. Probably inviting a couple of rebels and things to start spawning, so we will check France out in just a moment. So yeah, France have indeed gone Reformed. Friesland seemingly going Reformed, and then the third centre of Reformation is in Pfalz, in the Palatinate. So 3 Reformed centres, all quite close. I'm expecting this to be Reformed. I'm expecting the Protestants to be kind of in the eastern part of Germany and Eastern Europe. The ones which I am curious about are England and Sweden. I do wonder which way that they will go. And then I also wonder just how hard the Pope will fight to keep people Catholic. So, for example, Iberia, I'm expecting to remain Catholic. Austria could go either way. I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't look like they're willing to secede from the Catholic faith just yet. I would kind of expect Sweden to have gone Protestant. I'm a little surprised that they haven't. And then England might well be waiting for Anglicanism, because you can make a silly amount of money from that. Hayden, what are the rules for this? The easiest way to explain the rules, because there are a fair number of them, is to head over to our Discord channel and just check out the multiplayer information. All of the rules are currently pinned in that channel. So if you're interested in the rules and regulations that the players are playing around, then you can find those there. It's all codified. Except for victory point deductions for breaking rules. That's entirely up to me as a referee. So, do we have any other new wars that have broken out? I don't think so. People are just working on consolidating their territories. What happened with the war over here? Okay, so that war was entirely just to get Lübeck to start steering trade towards England. So the Lübeck trade node is now worth a fraction of it was previously, because they're sending more than the actual worth of the node into the English trade node, which means that England is going to be earning a silly amount of money from trade, currently earning 20 ducats. And if we go to the it's not going to show in the income overview, it's going to be the economy overviews, we will be able to see the countries sorted by trade. So at the moment the Ottomans are actually in first place in terms of trade income, England coming in second, then the Papal States with their dominance of the Genoa trade node coming in third, Castile fourth, Mamelukes fifth. I would not be that surprised if we start seeing some trade conflict erupting between the Ottomans and the Papal States, because the Pope is absolutely going to be wanting to steer money from Alexandria and Aleppo in towards Genoa, whereas Constantinople is going to be wanting to steer the trade from the same places. So at the moment, and of course we have the Mamelukes actually trying to keep the money in Alexandria. So the Mamelukes are probably going to be the ones the most oppressed. They are losing 15% to the Papal State and 20% to the Ottomans. Aleppo, meanwhile, is fairly evenly split between the two, 57 in the Mamluks, 33 to the Ottomans. So the majority of that is going to the Mamluks. And where are the Mamluks at the moment? Mamluks are a 5th place overall, so making rather less than from trade than I'd kind of expected.